Welcome, everybody, to our monthly Second Saturdays poetry reading. My name is Dan Kerr. I have the privilege of being your moderator for this monthly poetry series hosted by local poet Kathy Donnelly. If you'd like to participate in the open read, just put your name in chat and we will call upon you in the order that your names appear. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are reading, so we don't get the background noises and the distractions with the camera and so forth. Feedback is a gift, so we do get feedback, and Kathy and I have been doing this virtually since 2000 when COVID hit, but we're always open to new ideas and things that you might suggest and so forth. So if you have anything that you note that you like or things you don't like, things that we could do better, very simple, Daniel B. as in boy Kerr at verizon.net. Send me an email and I'll make sure that Kathy and I reflect on your feedback and we will consider making any revisions to the program going forward. Planned agenda, we start directionally right around 11 o'clock. We should be done by 12. I'll get you settled and I'll turn you over to Kathy. We're fortunate to have Alan as our featured poet today. Alan will read it for about 20 minutes. Then we'll have the open read. We'll bring Alan back for an encore, and then Kathy will have some concluding remarks and announce the next poet. Kathy reminds me that you are here for poetry, not for evangelization, but we do 3 programs at the church that the poets do participate in, and they come fairly regularly. So we do the concert series, Saturdays at 6. I had someone call today, what time is the Saturdays at 6 concert? So the Saturdays at 6 concert actually is one tonight. It's Tom Manuel and Gospel Road, and they'll be tonight at 6 o'clock in the church. The poetry we do once a month. We've been doing it virtually. We used to do it in the church. And we also do Native American drumming once a month as well. We do that in our parish house. If you're interested in any of these events, you could just visit our website or you could follow up with me personally. If you're on the Friends of the Church list, anytime we do a concert, anytime we do a poetry reading, anytime we do drumming, I send you a personal invitation. Once a year, we bring together the music, the concerts, and the poetry and the drumming into one gala evening, and we call that Conversations on the Sacred. And what we do is we take sacred poems from various religious traditions that are curated for us by Carolyn Emerson, and then each poem is followed by a musical interlude, either with musicians from the university. You can see 2 musicians here in the lower right-hand corner and back of Carolyn, or Dan Kinney playing the historical urban organ, or our Native American drummer. And all those readings are done by local poets. You'll see up there, right-hand corner, you'll recognize Jack Zaffos and Linda Dickman and quite a few of the poets there. They're the ones who actually read the sacred poem. So that's set. It's Saturday, September 5th for that. If you're interested in being one of the readers, let me know. I'll start to recruit folks soon. And then once a year we do, the church has been the historical building that is the church, which is on the National Registry of Historic Places, designed by Stanford White, has been there since 1896. But when Stanford White designed the church, life expectancy in the U.S. was less than 50 years. So they didn't really concern themselves with accessibility. So once a year, we hold a 5K race, 2K walk, and that race does 2 things. It celebrates the various ways that we serve the community, and it also raises funds to make the historic church accessible. So we've raised well over $100,000 at this point. We've got an architectural plan approved by the diocese and approved by the parishioners of how we would make the church accessible. That's the year this year that we do it. The date is October 4th, where we'll do the 5K race and 2K walk. And you'll notice over on the right hand, there's a picture. Every year we've had this tradition going the last 7 or 8 years or so. We have a group of poets. You can see Barbara serenades there with their rattle there. A group of poets called the Live Poets Society, and every year they walk in the race. We're still waiting to get some poets that want to run. So if there's poets who like to run, they can run in the 5K, or they could walk with the live poets in the walk portion. Okay, so that's all I have. I welcome you on behalf of All Souls, and I will turn you over to Kathy, who has some opening comments, and I believe she has a poem as well. Kathy, well, they're all yours.
Yes, so happy Saturday. The sun is shining bright. I'm sure you'll want to get out in it, but thank you for coming today. I am very, and Bruce has arrived, and Randy. How lovely. Okay, Virginia's here, Barbara, Shu, Mike. So this is fantastic. And thank you, because it is a gorgeous Saturday morning. So, you dropped everything to be here. I appreciate that very much. Dan, I'm speaking for you as well, I'm sure. Um, we have Alan, but I start with a poem, and let's do that. So here's this really funky writer named David Lehman. I don't know if you know him. This poem comes from the Daily Mirror, and it's a journal in poetry. I think, Barbara, this is especially for you. So, no title, just Ella Fitzgerald died. And I haven't had a minute to cry about it. But I listened to her driving here, and I'll be listening to her driving back home. I'll play the Irving Berlin songbook, and then Rogers and Hart, The Lady is a Tramp. But not this lady, Ira Gershwin said. I never knew how good our songs were until I heard Ella Fitzgerald sing them. The Queen of Scat. Oh, Ella, I hope you and Billie Holiday are comparing notes in heaven right now while I am back on earth hearing you sing. It was just one of those things. So that's David Lehman. So Barbara's our songbird, and she dominates the stage when she's up there. Welcome, Alan Semerdjian. He is an award-winning Armenian American writer. How unique is that? So unique. Musician, educator, and poet laureate of New York's Nassau County 2024 to 2026. Recognitions include 2 Pushcart Prize nominations, a Frontier New Poet Award, the Poems in Poetry International, the Brooklyn Rail, Fence, Hanging Loose, and Misner. Alan's poem, The Writing About It Again, quote unquote, was part of a short animated film, an Armenian triptych, retracing our steps made in collaboration with Bajakian and international visual artist Kevork Morad. Please forgive for any mispronunciations, Alan. That won honors in several film festivals. Pulitzer Prize winner Peter Balakian has called his first full-length poetry collection In the Architect of Bone. Gen Pop Books, 2009. Well worth the reading. Alan has been teaching English in public schools for over 25 years, winning recognitions for his commitment to education while recording, releasing, and touring in support of several critically acclaimed collections of music across a range of genres. He is on the advisory board of the International Armenian Literary Alliance, through which he founded and directs the Young Armenian Poets Awards. Welcome, Alan Semerdjian.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and Daniel, for your mindful attention to the details. I think it's just a wonderful thing. I've been visiting a lot of different communities in the last 2 years as poet laureate of the county, which was such a humbling title. And the thing I noticed the most, honestly, I keep going back to, obviously I've heard some remarkable poems, and, the power of invention is strong here in our county. But the thing that I think is even more powerful is the thing that Whitman had said, right? He said, great poets need great audiences. And the thing that I continue to fall back on is how wonderful all of you are to each other. The individuals who create the spaces for poetry, the people who come and support those spaces, inhabit those spaces on a gorgeous Saturday morning. We're making that time, to we're making an intentional choice to be here. That means everything. Without that, there is no poetry, there is no music, there is no art. With that intention to be present and to show up. So that's the thing that has impressed me the most about our county, honestly, is that impulse and commitment. So thank you for all of you, and thank you for creating space for my words today. I'd like to start with a poem from a new manuscript that will come out in late 2026. A book will come out, or right now we're sort of working out with the publisher, or the beginning of 2027. It's called Birds Too Distant to Name is the name of the manuscript. And it deals with a lot of these kinds of musings, experiences that are sometimes, ineffable, difficult to kind of put a finger on. And it kind of mines the personal, but it also explores a lot of relevant 21st century, major happenings in our lives. So many have come and are still coming right now. But I want to start off with a sort of a poem that makes me think of the Artemis II NASA-led incredible initiative to the moon, which has inspired so many people, I think. I just thought it was just a lovely, the way in which this, I just think it's just been a beautiful exploration, and to follow these incredible people, what they've been doing, and saying and thinking. Anyway, so the poem is not written for them at all. Actually, it's a poem called "Flying Through Clouds," and in some ways, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but when I'm up in the air in an airplane, which is always to me a remarkable thing that humans have invented that kind of flight, just to be able to be there. It almost feels unnatural, but then it feels quite organic and real true. For me, it parallels a certain kind of freedom of the mind. And so I think this poem is about this kind of openness and loving someone else and loving through the freedom of the mind, but also very much in that moving through clouds, which Artemis reminded us of that beauty. So it's called The Flying Through Clouds. Those giant, wispy, dreamlike things we move through during periods of transition. Face, time zones for another. Those immortals' beards, precise, white, angelic, volcano. How they stamp the letters of our lives. How they pop, hint at sadness, yet navigate the in-between with collected neutrality. These sweet tufts of space for the sun and our besties to surf through. Wishes and secrets, ambitions and alive. Even the long frown of ego, who occasionally makes it up this high, thinks twice about shouting up here, raising its voice in an emptiness surely designed to quiet all things once proud and once weighted, all things without fear or awe. Love, this is how we are meant to love. In and out of knots of air, gentler than the finger and the touch. 1 minute on top and the next through and inside of dimension and depth. Seeing everything and nothing. Every time, the first time. Love, these layers of miles, unaccountable and without distance, how they mirror the inside of our cells, how alive our bodies, the universe, thought without condition, hope without a prize. Oh, but the pull and the siege of gravity. Oh, but the swallow of light back into history, the must end of endlessness, gridding the walkways of our collective belows. Why must we find ourselves back on the flattest maps? Thank you. The poem is about living in that space, yeah. Um, and it's a love poem, I think, ultimately. But isn't not every poem kind of a love poem? My son, when he was 7, my son told me that. He said, "Dad, I think," because we were talking about poems, and he said, "Dad, I think every poem's a love poem." That's profound, young man.
Except I have to say, not all poems.
Well, yeah. I think there are different purposes, right? But love can be fierce too, Kathy, right? So sometimes when, it depends on how we define love, right? That's ultimately what it is, right? Because there is a firmness and a intensity of love that is, well, love has many dimensions. There are many rooms in the house of love. Speaking of love, this is called The Love Poems, and it also is from that manuscript. These days, every serving of time feels like it can be shaped in the hand to be a love poem. Your grandmother's folding the grape leaves for the dolma, while your grandfather studies in charcoal and ink near something uneven, the edge of the page, while the son's fingers move in and out of certainty. And the memories drive through open corridors called identities arches, under which you carved out these first kisses that return in silent droves to feasts. Feel free in these brief interjections of light. For these days, the shortages run the city blocks all night, looking for some kind of new charge. Feel the weight of your neighbor and begin to undress the distance quietly as the seconds disappear or shift into instruments of sound you've been hearing, no, making your entire life, marking your heart's height on the door. And leave whatever it is that takes you away from understanding the time you have left is now. Thank you. When I sort of revisit these poems in these contexts, I think maybe all of us feel this way, right? When you're working towards a book or some sort of collection, you understand the poems more as you read them aloud. And I do think that these poems have a preoccupation and a fascination with memory and kind of making sense of the past. I do think that there are poems in it that are quite domestic in the sense that they explore familial relationships too. And I'd like to read one of them. This is a poem. My son appears again in this poem. This is called The Good Light. And there is a phrase here, and I should preface it. We mentioned before, I'm Armenian, and the phrase is Pari Luis, which means, interestingly, it's a morning greeting, but it's a fascinating phrase. Pari in Armenian means good, and Luis means light. So in the morning, people say to each other, "Good light," which is I've always thought a remarkably poetic phrase that people maybe don't cast enough attention to in the Armenian community, but I just want to share it with you all because I think it has some real resonance. It's called The Good Light. This poem is called The Good Light, and my son was quite young when we were learning language. Our love cupped like water in palms, we search for the day's first words. Pari Luis, I whisper to my son, and then good light, the cart that follows the mare over hillside rake. In this early country of understanding, he thinks of what it means to be right first, and the next sound after is luminous and cloud, spark and soft embrace, weightless, a butterfly once. Its fragrance is a station of ignition. And then we're off into the first lapse. Meaning will run in a life of language and longing. And in this marking that is every waking, there is also making, and its child wonder, who lets the translation sit on the tongue for a while before swallowing it whole. Full lot of strange characters and all, searching for new morning thirsts. It's a very kind of muscular language kind of poem, maybe even how language is formed. Thanks. And I'm really fascinated by that, how, and I think the book kind of thinks about that too, how language is formed and how it forms us. I'd like to read a poem, and this is a poem of gratitude in many ways for Kathy, because Kathy created for us, along with Adam Fisher, a wonderful anthology called What Unites Us, through the Walt Whitman birthplace and her initiative. And it just has many, of us in the community, all of us are represented, in this wonderful anthology that explores this idea of the Constitution, democracy, and rule of law. And a poem I have in this collection is called The Birds of Avenue A. When I lived in Manhattan for many years, I lived in the East Village. And if anyone is familiar with the East Village, it has a park in it called Tompkins Square Park. And these birds inhabit that space. And when I say inhabit, I mean they make these gorgeous circles and flight patterns from one side of the park to the other, and then over to Avenue A. And they just are little miracles for me, these birds. And when I think about democracy and freedom and, this great American experiment that we have, I think of these birds often, and what they mean. So this is a poem to them, but also reading it now is, again, a poem of gratitude for Kathy and Adam for putting this together. It's called The Birds of Avenue A. The birds of Avenue A are impressionist painters on a date with afternoon light. They swing through myths of East and West as if there were no grid before them. They soar with new impenetrable dreams we've cupped in our hands like fallen apricots, and then they let go to the wind, only to see the turn of leaves to wings, the pit exploding into the transparent eye. Ever seeing, ever reaching, they fly over us, no flags, but that which alights, feather and swoon, marvel and the original plan. They raise the horizon like a swollen tent and dive into Ararat's valley. Their migrations dazzle inside the murmur, heat for miles upon impossible miles. They fill the memory with a dose of maze, conduct in calm internal measurements. They fly together, but on their own. They are the city's bells reverberating in these new silences of history. How clean our suffering, one form of flightlessness or another, shaping the contours of our sidewalk lives. And how clear their antidote to empire, to undress in manifold shades of some idea, under sun, indivisible, with direction for only the now. The Pledge of Allegiance makes an appearance to you in the inner ear at the end of that poem there. So I want to end with, because I think I'm approaching that 20-minute mark, a poem that is a tribute to open mics, which I've been reading. It's called The Poem for Everyone. I'll read that. And before I read that, I want to say thank you again for this series, for Daniel and Kathy and everybody that took the time to be here. It's such an honor to again, for me, and humbling to be able to visit these poetry spaces that have been around long before my time as laureate and will be around more. It's really a blessing to be able to drop in and see poetry work its magic. It's really been tremendous. I do want to invite everybody here and your friends or anyone who would like to come by tonight. I'm going to be at the Long Beach Library Poetry Festival, and I'm assembling a group of quite ambitious and adventurous musicians. They're really amazing. And we're going to perform extemporaneous improvisational music behind poets. It's a bit of an experiment. We did it last year. It was quite successful. It was fun, and it was also sometimes quite profound. So if you're interested in bringing a poem, signing up for the open mic tonight, it starts at 6 to sign up. And you want to have music behind you and to see what that feels like if you haven't done it. We would love to do it for you. So hopefully some of you will be there, and I'd love to do that again for you as we did last year. And the musicians are just top-notch, remarkable, great friends, and myself included. We'll play for you, and we'll and we can also curate it the way you'd like. So if you want to hear something a little more upbeat, let us know, and we can figure it out. Something more reflective and pensive, we can do that as well. Okay, this is the Poem for Everyone, and it is really in trying to honor the wonderful open mic scene on Long Island, Nassau County, but also just worldwide. I mean, open mics, talk about democracy. Open mics are the place for all this. The Poem for Everyone. Everyone, the apartment upstairs is unlocked and empty, except for a live microphone plugged into a box of reverb so that the echo grows wings around you when you step up to it and breathe. Everyone, the sound is for you to consider your alliances, your hopes, your every secure meandering away from the screens in the dark that nobody hears. That nobody is also everyone, else or otherwise, in love and looking for space in a world so over it and up against it every day. Take the stairs, everyone, better for your heart. Make the necessary preparations for some part in what is forever transformation. There is surge still in the lines and aim yet in the scope of its reach, which might seem every fear you have yet to fear, and every crowded this way and that. Everyone, what you may find there in the room not too far away and just above you will be bliss. Wrap all your arms around it and hold on, dear life. We are nothing if not directions for each other. Thank you. That is my time, and I'm looking forward to hearing all of you.
That was wonderful, Alan. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm just going to... Dan, you have the list? You're on mute, Dan.
Sorry about that. Feedback is a gift. Thank you. So, Alan, wonderful, wonderful. It's amazing how much emotions and how much images you put into 5 poems there, and together with the little narration. The flying through the clouds, I really felt kind of anticlimactic being back on the ground, back on the flat maps of the earth. The
That's right.
love poems, just beautiful. The time left is now, very profound. The good light, what a beautiful, beautiful poem, reminding us, with good light and thinking of all the other greetings and all different cultures and different languages, and you really help us understand the impact that what you first words in the morning have on the whole day. And I never thought of the birds as an impressionistic painters. Having graduated from NYU, spent a lot of time in the village. I certainly remember seeing lots of birds in the air. And then just that wonderful, thoughtful honor to the open mic scene, make us all feel very, very cherished and encouraged and gratified that you recognized all of us. So thank you for that, and we look forward to your encore. We're going to move now into the open read. And as far as the open read is concerned, I'd like to just share with you something here. So most of you here have been here before, so when we do the open read, please only one poem. Please no long poems, less 5 minutes or less. Please keep your microphone muted until you're called upon so we don't get the distractions. And I'll call upon everyone in groups of 3. So you're not surprised. So the first group of 3 I have, and anyone, if you haven't put your name in chat and you want to read, just put your name in chat there now. So the first group of 3 is Marvin, followed by Barbara, followed by Mike Daly. So Marvin, over to you.
The poem is called At the Door. From Treblinka, I came to America. Married a good woman, Clara, my compass, led me around my nightmares to the safety of her arms. A home she made, warmed by her smile, lit by her dignity. The shadows began to crawl away, humbled by her cheer. Max, don't worry, you are free. No one is at the door but friends. Smile a little more. That's a good boy. That's my Maxie. I began to settle in. This land became a sofa, cushioning my fears. Clara, friends, rest, time to drink some schnapps. I began to settle in. Then one day a face appeared, pushed through the doors of the subway car, pressed up against mine at the center pole. In his eyes, I heard my mother's plea. In his eyes, I felt a sour heart. In his eyes, I heard him bark, Arbeit, Arbeit. In his eyes, I saw the smoke, wire and the bones, his boot glistening through the smoke in his eyes. His boots walked him out at Times Square, I think it was. He didn't look back, but then again the train pulled away. I couldn't see. He may have looked. That night I lay in Clara's arms, hoping she was my mother, before he pointed her away. Morning came. I took the bus. The driver looked familiar.
Thank you, Marvin. Very poignant. Okay, over to Barbara.
Oh, good morning. I'm kind of verklempt from that. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your poems, Alan. Long Beach Library is 60 miles away from my house. There's other readings today in Northport. And shout out to all the teachers. I spent all of March subbing in my school district from kindergarten to AP biology, and I'm rewarded with a head cold. And thank you, Kathy, for the Ella poem, because I went to Carnegie Hall by myself as a 27-year-old, and way, way up in the highest possible balcony. And I sat next to this Japanese man. We had no language in common except Ella. And we walked down the stairs along 57th Street and had a drink together at Nirvana. So I wrote a short poem this morning, and I will share with you. I saw you yesterday. It had been a while. You looked pretty good, maybe more crinkle in your smile. The doc is happy with your progress. I took you home to my house for some dirt therapy. Spring cleanup in the bulb garden. You enjoyed those moments in the April sun raking around daffodil and wood hyacinth. The tulips still green, showing no sign of buds. You're comfortable in your assisted living. You're not feeling the outrage I am. Say that what you do now can't really make a difference, so why expend the energy that you need for healing? I get it. But I have to keep raising my voice in protest, just like a lifetime ago. But last night was different. We watched the TV. There was that eternal moment of no communication with Artemis. It was that eternal moment, but of hope. We held hands, gripping, then shared renewal and relief of splashdown.
Thank you, Barbara. Very timely. Okay, over to Mike Daly.
Good morning, everyone. In honor of, April is Poetry Month. I've got a poem on the poet, and I think you can all find a little bit of you in this one. I guess you should all know my story. I'm someone who just has to write. Tumbling words and metering phrases keep me up most every night. There are songs, there are stories with rhythms and rhymes. You can take them at face value or read between the lines. There is love, there is hatred, there is humor, and there's truth. Some are written for the ages. Some are wasted on the youth. Some are morally despicable, with a somewhat twist of fate. Some are sometimes quite ridiculous. Some you'll love, but some you'll hate. There are words by the thousands. There are themes by the score. There are some that you'll remember, and even more that you'll ignore. They're a tribute to my ego. They're a window to my soul. They're a figment of creation that I simply can't control. I'm a victim of a talent that's a blessing and a curse that fills my every waking thought with rhythm, rhyme, and verse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, next group of three is Virginia, followed by Shu, followed by Randy. So Virginia, over to you.
Think I have my mic on.
You're fine.
Yeah, and this poem I sent off, so many people are doing the 250th anniversary things. And I wouldn't have thought of reading this today, except that Alan was the reader. And by the way, I love that Antidote to Empire and the Fallen Apricots and all of that. Carrying New York. Years ago, when I was in the Girl Scouts, I carried the New York State flag from Rufus King Park in Jamaica up to Hillside Avenue for a great parade on July 4th. The great forms of liberty and justice waved their gowns above me, and the banner stated Excelsior, a favorite word of my father, the engineer, businessman. His father fled a genocide to find freedom, to escape second-class citizenship. He came to a land of democracy and law, becoming the owner of his own company and earn renown. The leather harness across my chest helped me stand tall under the weight of the flag with its river and mountain. Vahan Movsession crossed mountains to leave Anatolia, no future there. Here he became Frank Shields and helped his sisters after they escaped the genocide to come to the land of opportunity where he flourished and where my father Help me to see greatness in the states of our great nation. I held the flag of one great state where we could rely on law, not force, and stood as tall as possible under its beauty. Later, I told my grandfather about my proud honor.
Thank you. Well done, Virginia.
Thank you.
Okay, Shu, over to you. Shu, you got to put your mic on.
Let's see, she's doing something now.
Shu, you got to turn your mic on.
And my mic is on. So,
There you go. Now it is. Okay.
okay. Yeah. So yeah, such a lovely and wonderful Saturday morning, and the weather just perfect. And so I really, do love this group of people. Every time I have a good time here, share my poem and hear a lot of
I am so
poems.
glad. I am so glad to hear that you. May I just say for you, her poem is in the chat. So if anyone wants to read along, they can. Okay, sure. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I post that it's in the chat so you can read along. Dust of time. Time does not fall all at once. It loosens grain by grain. As dusk settling on a tired shoulder, a weight you only notice when it's gone. What we can't hold becomes what holds us. The wind that remembers our breath, the field that keeps our footsteps, the night sky that carries our unspoken wish. Almost dusting me with the faintest shimmer, as if memory falls. Each glimmer, a pass of time, a doorway, a season, a laugh, a silence, a stranger, a beloved, a beginning, an ending, a you echoing, a me listening, and us held in the brief drop of now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shu. Okay, Randy, over to you.
This is based on Easter that just passed, and it's called Silent Saturday. And it's a lyric, so the language is a little simpler. Our Lord and Rabbi's dead, can't help this growing dread, for well, where will we women go? You gave us a family to serve all those in need, but now we haven't a home and no shield from Jewish laws as single women because we have no rights that we know. Some of us were harassed by spirits till at last you cast them out, gave us rest. Others were prostitutes or sick till healed by you, unclean till you showed respect. For we're spurned by Pharisees, not ever really seen, in public, never addressed. We pray for your return, helpless to men impure, we need protection anew. Will you return again, our teacher and our friend, or does your cause die with you? So now, Lord, your women weep. Will you return from sleep? That's what we're holding on to. This silent Saturday, all we can do is pray. Our only hope is in you. So now, Lord, your women weep. Will you return from sleep? That's what we're holding on to. And since I only can read one poem, maybe next year I'll read Shouting Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very timely with regard to Easter. And interesting, I like to build a little bit upon Randy's poem there. And this poem is actually dedicated to my mom, her birthday actually is, I think, tomorrow. She was born in April. And my mother was a woman of very deep faith, and she was very involved in her local Roman Catholic church in Miami Lakes, Florida. So this poem is called Our Lady of the Lakes. After 80 plus years, the death of my father and a few strokes, it was time for my mom, Vivian, to to leave Florida and move back to Northport for the last chapter of her life. Her house in Miami Lakes was empty. Her car was donated to charity. All we needed to do was attend her last Mass at Our Lady of the Lakes Church before we boarded the plane with her faithful dog Murphy to write the last chapter of her new life in Northport, New York. The pastor knew this was Vivian's last Mass. All the church members knew. All the church members she knew, loved, and helped for 23 years. We're told she was returning to her family in New York. Unsteady on her feet and mumbling a bit, she held my arm as she made her way to the altar. Vivian would join the procession that last Sunday and read the scriptures to the congregation from the altar during her last Mass at Our Lady of the Lakes Church. The Old Testament reading that day was from Exodus. Moses came down from the mountain and his face was aglow because he had seen the face of God. As Mom got up from her chair on the altar and made her way to the lectern, her gait became strong and steady, and her voice suddenly sounded as clear as thunder. When she read the passage from Moses, I could swear her face was glowing as well. At that moment, the youngest of her 8 children and the Our Lady of Our Lakes congregation saw the face of God in this old woman. The last chapter in Northport was happy. Children and grandchildren visited often, and her faithful dog Murphy enjoyed the change in seasons, especially his first snowfall. Eventually, Father Time caught up with her. Dementia set in. She lost the ability to drive and her independence too. Every Sunday after church, I would bring her the Eucharist and we would share communion together in her living room. Her last stroke was a big one. She lost her ability to talk and her ability to swallow. A feeding tube replaced meals with her family, and a nursing home replaced her home in Northport. I visited her Sunday after church and brought her communion. Since she could not swallow, I would dip my finger in the consecrated wine and place the blood of Christ on her lips. Whenever she received the consecrated wine, her face glowed, just like Moses coming down from the mountain. And when Vivian read from Exodus at her last Mass at Our Lady of the Lakes. Thank you. Okay, Carolyn, over to you.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Alan, for the lovely poetry reading, and everybody else, too. I'd like to read a very short poem for Poetry Month called What Can a Poet Do? Paint shades of love with flower words. Praise nature with the wings of birds. Heal wounds with lineaments of calm. Show death that living is the balm. Brave politicians when they're wrong. Uplift the soul with rousing song. Caress the ear with velvet sound. Convince the lost that they are found. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Nicola, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry I was a bit late. There were competing Zooms. My husband was on one doing a sing-around, so I had to get the computer from him. This one is, actually I wrote it back at the end of February, so it was before all this started in the Middle East. It's a little bit darker than I normally write. It's called The Dark of the Moon. In the dark of the moon, the old woman sits. In silence, she tastes the bitterness of regret. Regrets for a friendship that withered through lack of care. She always meant to write or call, tomorrow, or next week, or next year. Regrets for the times she looked away from the homeless man, not through lack of care, but because she cared too much. To look into his eyes would have hurt too much, cost too much. But for him, it would have been to acknowledge his humanity, that he had worth, even in his darkest times. Regrets for the look of anguish and confusion on her son's face as she lashed out, throwing angry words born of frustration and too many broken nights, undeserved words that cannot be recalled. Sometimes the light blinds us. It is the darkness that shows us who we truly are. In the dark of the moon, the young man sits. Restless, he tries to chase away uneasy thoughts, stirrings of conscience as he remembers. His 15-year-old self showing off to his friends, cheeking a young teacher, smirking as she left the room in tears. It was her first job. And last night, drinking with his mates, leering at the barmaid until the landlord noticed, "Pack it in, lads, or drink elsewhere." Then the derogatory remarks, casual cruelty directed to one of their number because he was foreign, even though he was born in their town, went to school with them. "It's only banter, a bit of fun," they said. He joined in, even after their friend made his excuses and left. He wanted to fit in, be part of the group. He was afraid they might turn on him. Sometimes the light blinds us. It is the darkness that shows us who we truly are. In the dark of the moon our country waits, darkness rising, little by little, like ink dropped into swirling water, reaching out feathered tentacles until all is black. Too many problems, too many people left behind, unregarded as the few prosper. A government that seems out of touch, unable to cope, hermetically sealed in its own bubble, looking inwards. A fertile ground for the chancers, the con artists, for those who would fuel discontent and stoke division, looking for a scapegoat to serve their own ends. And on the horizon, the threat of war, unthinkable a decade ago, now a possibility. Soon we'll be called upon to make a choice, to show who we truly are. The dark times are coming, but at the dark of the moon, the stars shine brighter. There you go.
Okay, Bruce, over to you. Bruce Johnson. And then Alan told me he had to leave at 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little change. We'll do Bruce, then we'll do Alan. And then if anyone else wants to read, we will. So we're going to make Bruce the last on the scheduled list. Then we're going to go to Alan. Then we'll come back to anyone else who wants to read, who hasn't put their name in chat. So Bruce, over to you.
Thank you, Daniel. And thank you, Alan. It's always great to hear you read. And thank you, Kathy. Spring water. April snow melting, feeding this flowing fountain, cold and clear and wet. Thank you.
Alan, over to you for your encore.
Thank you. Wow, Bruce, that was very poignant. Your work always reminds me of Robert Creeley. I don't know if you know Creeley's work, but I appreciate it. Nice to see you. Nice to see everybody here. And Carolyn, good to see you. And again, thanks so much. Barbara will miss your voice tonight at the Long Beach. I know 60 miles is certainly no small ride. Thank you so much again for having me. I'll read one more poem here, and a short one that I read from time to time as well from the new book. And it really tries to capture some of that feeling of, some of you kind of touched upon it today. I don't know if it's a modern predicament necessarily, but certainly exacerbated by technology, the screens, the phones. But it does feel like sometimes in contemporary life, we feel both present and not present. And distracted might be a word, but not always fully there. And the poem explores that kind of binary, I suppose. So it's called the here, not here, like here, comma, not here. It's sort of simultaneously at the same time. It's a short poem here. It was published in a British magazine called Pop Shot. So this is the last one. And thank you again for honoring the time. I did have to pick up my son from Armenian language school today. So it's called The Here, Not Here. She described it as the greatest story of our time. The idea of being present, but not. Occupying space, but the mind scrolling through another screen. And I immediately began to cry, not cry. Or maybe it was the fact that leaving is never leaving for me. That I and perhaps everyone else could not understand gone because we're still trying to get to that elusive spot right here, here, here. But some of us have figured out how not to hurt so much or send the package so that it actually gets there and not drive for hours in the car looking, not looking for where was it again?
Thank you, Alan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the time, Danny. You're a gracious host. And thank you, Kathy, for having me so much. And thanks,
Alan, thank
everybody.
you so much. And I just have to tell you, I hate the window seat in an airplane because I feel trapped. But now I'm going to look for that window so I
Oh,
can
that's real sweet.
find your poem in those clouds.
Oh,
Thank you so
wow.
much.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you
Kathy,
again.
We'll see.
Kathy, yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I'll see some of you in Long Beach this evening. Have a great time. And thank you for this wonderful series.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Okay, Kathy, did you want to read or do you want to just go to the?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Everyone has read? Yes.
Anyone, I think, looking around, I think everyone has read. So it's,
Okay.
if you'd like to do one, that'll be great. And then we can introduce the next poet.
Sure. I'd like to just grab this opportunity. I don't like to brag about anything, but I'd like to brag right now. But add another few pieces of information for all my friends here on this, reading, which is that when Adam Fisher called me in May of last summer and said, let's do an anthology on democracy and rule of law, constitution, he was a bit in a rage about some of the things he saw going on and wanted to do this. And I said, I will do it on one condition. There's no hate talk. This book that Alan brought up, which is What Unites Us, is just a read for any way you look at the government. So many of the poets are Republican as well as Democrat, and they're all in here. And so the only other thing I want to say before I read my poem from the same book is that anyone interested in a copy, it became a fundraiser for the Walt Whitman birthplace. So if you call that place, you simply tell them you want a book and they will send you one in the mail. And the little bit of difference between the printing, which was not cheap, because there's lots of color pictures in here. We have a picture of the 39 signers of the Constitution, plus. Um, is this a little bit of a profit there for them to make to support them because they did lose a rather significant grant I was made aware of, and I said, then you just take the book. And so it's all round good thing. And I just want to go through the other thing is, yes, Adam and my name are on the front cover, but I went into a slight panic, having this major responsibility, 3 months to produce the book before Constitution Day, September 17th, but actually a week before because we had to pick them up from the printer. They don't open on weekends, blah, blah, blah. And the event that we celebrated the book was on a Sunday. I'm just going to run through these names because some of you are here right now that helped and made the job so much easier. Really a group effort. Linda Trott-Dickman, Carolyn Emerson, Bruce Johnson, who's here today, Jerry Parisi Kaplan, Kathy Kelson, Mindy Cronenberg, Sherry Lynn, Linda Oprah, Anthony Policano, Barbara Southard, Bob Stone, Doug Sweezy, J.R. Turek, and Pramila Venkateswaran all called and said, what do you need help with? And I assigned them all tasks. So it was very much a group effort. Just to let you know, it's not like Adam and I sat down and put this book together. So my poem that I submitted to it, actually sat down and wrote it, is because I'm not learning what a mutt I am till I got my ancestry DNA. I believed myself to be mostly Irish, and so I've related to that nationality all my life. This is the penal laws, which were laws by the Brits over the Irish Catholics. I sit on my back porch overlooking long green grass, tall green trees like Ireland, home to my ancestors, reading a banned book, The Ginger Man. He is so bad it's a comedy. I think I know him. It's Sunday. What better way to say thanks for all that is good? I attend Mass, give a silent nod to he, she, we call God. I don't need to know, content to sense the incomprehensible. I think of my father's people, my Irish heritage under the kings of England since the 12th century, penal laws since September 7, 1695. Mark the day. Perceived threats by Catholic popes and power. The right to educate children forbidden. I would not know how to read my book. Not permitted to inherit or own land. I would not own my back porch. No say in elections, not permitted to vote. No one would hear my protests. Irish Catholic majority ruled by Protestant minority, not permitted to hold public office, practice law. Fines and imprisonment for attending the Mass I went to this morning, death to priests giving it. Kings of England forbade bearing arms, speaking the Irish tongue, gathering to sing and dance at their céilís. Enough food for everyone shipped to their own shores, leaving Ireland in famine. Harsh rules, punishments, cruel suppression of a people by the kings across the sea. British rule, our founding fathers knew what it was, knew what was to come. A place to go to get from under the new world, with its new laws of the land written into a constitution, something to look to, a vision to aspire to, trust, even amend as we go.
You're well done, Kathy.
Thank you, thank you. And lastly, Ed Lors will read for us next month. Ed is a phenomenon, brilliant poet, and good friend to many of the people that are here. So we look forward to him reading for us, and so hope to see you next month.
Okay, so this session, as I said, will be recorded. So